Hedera pulls back 4.6% after hitting resistance. And what's next? We'll answer those questions and cover the latest Hbar news in today's video. Welcome back to the Crypto Intel channel. If you enjoy staying up to date with everything around Hbar, please give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll never miss updates, price predictions, and market analysis. So let's dive in. Analyzing Hedera's recent price movement. Hedera has experienced a pullback following a brief rally into resistance in a slightly weak broader market, with no clear negative fundamental catalyst driving the last approximately 33 hours of downside. Recent price action and local resistance. Over the past week, Hbar climbed from roughly $0.069 on July 1st to above $0.077 on July 5th, then drifted slightly lower to around the mid $0.07 on July 6th, leaving it still up about 1.7% over 7 days, but stretched versus its early month levels. Multiple traders highlighted the 0.074 to 0.08 band as a key short-term decision area, with Hbar briefly trading close to $0.08 and futures open interest rising toward about $95 million while spot volume actually softened, a classic sign of more speculative positioning piling in near resistance rather than fresh spot demand building beneath it. In the last 24 hours specifically, CoinMarketCap data shows Hbar down roughly 4.6% while trading around $0.072 with 24-hour volume near $60 million. So the 3.08 percentage point move over 33 hours that you are seeing is essentially Hbar backing off that resistance after a multi-day grind higher, giving back a slice of its earlier weekly gain rather than breaking a major longer-term structure. The short-term drop is consistent with a local rejection at resistance after a modest rally, where late buyers at higher levels get squeezed out once momentum fades. Broader market and flow context. Hbar's move also sits inside a mildly risk-off but not panicked crypto tape. Across the market, total crypto market cap is down around 1.6% over the past 24 hours, while still up about 7.2% over 7 days, and altcoins as a group are modestly lower on the day after a recent bounce. That puts Hbar's 24-hour performance as underperforming the average alt by a few percentage points, but not in an outlier crash category. There is no sign of a Hbar-specific ETF outflow or delisting event. In fact, Canary's spot Hbar ETF on Nasdaq has seen renewed inflows, including its largest single-day inflow since mid-May on July 2nd and roughly $1.0 million of net inflows again reported on July 7th, bringing cumulative net inflows above $100 million and net assets above $50 million. Those flows show continued institutional interest in Hbar exposure via ETF products rather than an institutional exit. On the derivatives side, a recent options and futures overview noted that while many majors had positive cumulative volume delta, net aggressive buying, Hbar futures were among those showing negative cumulative volume delta alongside ZEC, which implies more aggressive selling pressure in Hbar derivatives during that period even as the broader market leaned bullish. That is consistent with speculators fading Hbar's move into resistance and using futures to express bearish or hedging views. The broader tape explains some of the move Hbar fell in a day when the market softened, but its bigger slide versus peers looks more tied to traders unwinding or flipping positions in a coin that had just run into resistance, not to ETF redemptions or a sector-wide panic. Sentiment, narratives, and the absence of a negative event. When you look at news and social data specifically for Hbar over the last couple of days, the picture is strikingly non-bearish. On social media, Hbar's net sentiment score over roughly the last 2 days sits slightly above neutral, around 5.25 on a 0 to 10 scale, where 5 is neutral and 10 is strongly bullish. The most shared posts are actually bullish, highlighting points such as reported MiCA compliance for Hbar in Europe, accumulation by wallets holding 10 to 100 million Hbar over the last 3 days, and commentary about the U.S. State Department engaging Hedera for blockchain-based transparency and human rights initiatives. The bearish side of social chatter is dominated less by fundamental fear and more by short-term technical signals. Multiple accounts are circulating chart-based alerts calling out MACD bearish crossovers on Hbar's intraday chart and warning of near-term downside risk from those indicators. That fits the narrative of a technically driven pullback where sentiment is still reasonably constructive, but short-term traders are respecting momentum flips on lower timeframes. In the news flow, there are no fresh reports in the last couple of days of hacks, protocol failures, exchange delistings, major governance disputes, or other clearly negative Hedera-specific events that would neatly line up with a sudden repricing. Instead, the Hbar headlines are mostly about ETF flows and, more broadly, about how altcoin ETFs including Hedera's saw muted but selective inflows while investors remain cautious. At the same time, earlier in the week, derivatives coverage highlighted Hbar as one of the few large caps with net bearish futures flow despite the market's short squeeze in other names, again pointing to trader positioning rather than new bad news as the pressure point. The data supports the view that nothing broke in the Hedera story during the last 33 hours. If anything, the fundamental and narrative backdrop is slightly supportive. In the short term, price downside looks more like traders reacting to technical signals and a failure to push cleanly through resistance. Conclusion: putting these threads together, the 3.08 percentage point move in Hbar over the last 33 hours looks like a routine short-term retrace after a small rally into a crowded resistance band, happening on a day when the overall crypto market also cooled off slightly. Positioning and technicals traders fading the move at $0.074 to $0.08, combined with slightly risk-off tape in altcoins, explain the bulk of the drop, while the news and on-chain narratives around Hedera remain either neutral or mildly positive rather than pointing to a hidden negative catalyst. Your plans, hopes, and expectations are for it. The best and most engaging comment will be featured in the next video. Just a reminder, friends, informational and news videos are posted on the channel every day, so you won't get bored here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you're always up to date on all the latest news. And if you liked this video, please support me with a like. Your like is my motivation. Thanks to everyone for watching, and see you next time.